Hi, and welcome to the next class in Management 386. Between last class and today, you should have looked over the article on cognitive biases and empathy in design thinking on the website. Also, you should have looked over chapter 3. Now, we're covering a lot of information, and this is all going to culminate next week on Tuesday when I assign you your first project, and then next Thursday, you're going to have your first exam on this information. I want to jump right in now and start talking to you about the info and to go back and kind of review. Now, I know that you are probably like tired of hearing all about the entrepreneur as an individual, but learning theory tells us that the more times you're exposed to information, the more likely you are to internalize it and remember it. So please bear with me as I go through all of the information we've learned and give you a really good idea of how the information you read since last class incorporates into this and where we'll be going in the future. So give me a moment here to share screen and get over to the whiteboard. Fantastic. Thank you. Let me move things around on my monitor just a moment. I wish everything always worked smoothly when I share screen, but it doesn't always on my end. Okay, so we are sharing screen now. We know that we've talked quite a bit about the entrepreneur as the individual. And we've talked about the theory of bounded rationale. We know everything inside the circle is everything that we know based upon experiences and time. We also know risk can be measured, resides inside our boundary. Uncertainty cannot be measured and is outside our circle. One of the things that we've learned so far is we need to be keenly self aware. And some of the things that we need to know about ourselves are information that is inside our boundary, information that's not. We need to know about the traits we read about in the article, how those apply to us, as well as some of the attitudes, locus of control, self efficacy, some of those. And we can also think about our skills, possibly our resources, our network. And all of these culminated last week. And when I asked you to do the assignment on your strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully you've incorporated all of this into your strengths and weaknesses. Now, this is important to know because we're going to move forward now and talk about why this matters. So, as you know, I told you this is your hand of cards. This is what we're dealt. Now it's time to start playing the cards. Excuse me. After talking all day, my throat gets a bit dry. So now we're going to play the cards. The first way that we start to play these cards is by building our A team. Regardless of what goal you're trying to achieve, you want to surround yourself with an A team to help you accomplish this. And we know that the proper way to pick a team is to pick individuals with diverse backgrounds than us, people who have different sets of strengths and weaknesses, so that their strengths prop up our weaknesses and so forth. And what we hope that we're doing is by creating a great team here, our collective bounded rationale is much bigger. The larger this boundary, the more that we have decreased uncertainty. And this is key for our success. So, moving along, we started talking last week about the market. So, we've gone from the individual to the team to the market. Now, Timon's model of entrepreneurship, which I'll introduce to you a bit in detail, a bit more in detail later, tells us that the market drives entrepreneurship. Or in other words, businesses exist to solve problems for the market. Now, how do we know what those markets are? Those problems are. We use our entrepreneurial awareness in order to make observations within the market. Now, these observations can be the complaints that we talked about last class. Perhaps it's just looking around, noticing things out of the ordinary. There are many, many ways that we can take in these observations using our awareness. However, businesses do not exist to solve observations. We need to take this a step further and we need to identify what the real problems are that the market's feeling because of the observations. This is, how does the market feel? And now we know that in order to go from observations to problems, we have to practice empathy. Empathy is huge. It drives everything. So as we keep moving with this, you were introduced in these last readings to empathy in design thinking. And design thinking is a mindset. It's a mindset that is very prevalent in organizations and corporations these days. It's also very prevalent in the startup world and surrounding innovations. It's something that you need to internalize and start to practice and to get better at. So, design thinking is made up of 5 steps. We'll talk about the first ones right now. Define. Oh my goodness, you guys, I am terrible with this. And ideate. Okay, let's come back here for a second. Empathy is the foundation of design thinking. Empathy is the foundation of human-centered innovation. We are trying to solve problems for humans. So in other words, we're trying to solve problems for the market. Empathy is a key skill that you guys need to practice and that you need to get really good at. Because like I said, it drives all of this. It's the key for relationship building and maintaining relationships too. Whether that's the relationship with your A team, relationships with your customers, or relationships with other people in the market, the ones that you're going to have to form key partnerships with. This drives the foundation of all relationships. So as we think about this and we think about empathy and how much it matters and why this drives everything, I want you to take a second and I want you to think for me. I want you to think about the best customer service experience that you've ever had. Pause me for just a minute and let that come to mind for you. Okay, now that you have that pictured in your head and you're thinking back to the time when you had a fantastic customer service experience, you can feel your body relax. You can feel more positive emotions move through you. I'm not sure what your experience was, but whatever it was, that was the business having empathy with you and making you feel seen, heard, and valued. And when a business can do this for us, then we are more likely to be repeat customers. We're more likely to spread good words about this and recommend this business. So this business is more likely to succeed. You can see this is the key. So for those of you who are familiar with Chick-fil-A, I'd like to use them as an example here. Now, Chick-fil-A is a fast food restaurant that serves chicken dishes. They have sandwiches, they have chicken nuggets, chicken fingers, some breakfast items, some salads, some soups. But the chicken is not really why people shop there. The reason that people go there is because they're very, very good at making their customers feel appreciated, welcomed, and valued. Hence, every time I say, it's my pleasure, everyone who's familiar with Chick-fil-A knows exactly what I'm talking about. So honestly, in the grand scheme of things, Chick-fil-A's chicken is not the best in the world. It's not, but they have a cult following. It's not the worst. It's not bad either, but it's certainly not the best in the world. If we sit down and think about it, we could all think of places that have better chicken than them. But Chick-fil-A has really used empathy to position themselves in the fast food market, and with that has increased demand for their product and has been able to increase their price. You see, they provide something for us. When we go to a fast food restaurant, we want something quick that is satisfying. They do that. They've got efficiency down pat. So we know they're delivering on time for us. The other part of this is they know that most fast food restaurants don't really focus on making the customer feel welcomed or appreciated or valued. We can all think of those bad experiences we've had at other fast food places where they just rushed us through. But you see, Chick-fil-A is taking it that step further. They give you the food, the efficiency, and they also make you feel welcome, appreciated, and valued. They've nailed this, nailed it. And so as you think through that and you start looking around at different businesses and thinking about how you feel when you shop there, you'll start to understand more how businesses are solving problems for people. It's a very human-centered, which, like I said, this is what design thinking is, a very human-centered mindset. So here, let's move forward a little bit with this. We're going to use empathy, excuse me, to find the problem. We're also going to use empathy to start thinking about solutions. After we figure out what the customer doesn't want to feel, what pain they're having, and after we figure out what the customer does want to feel, what gain are they seeking, then we move into the define stage. And this is where we just clearly and explicitly articulate the problem we're going to solve and the gain we're hoping to create for them. So to put this simply, if there's a pain making you feel sad, then I'm going to put, problem is customers are sad. We want to make them feel happy. Now, I know that's very simplistic, but that's really what's happening in the define stage. After we do that, now we can start to think of ideas that are opportunities. We will start to brainstorm lots of ideas on different types of services and or products that we could bring to the market to help alleviate the pain and create the gain the market is demanding. Now we're going to list lots of ideas. And after we list these ideas, then we're going to go through and evaluate them to see which ones are actually entrepreneurial opportunities. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Once we do that, then we can start to move further into the last two stages of design thinking. Now I'm going to put them up here. The last two stages are prototype and testing. What's going to happen is we're going to develop a prototype of our product and or service, and then we will take it to the market, excuse me, and test it. And we'll do some iterations. We'll test it, go back and fix the things that weren't working, take it back to the market, test it again, bring it back, fix it, and we'll do this circle several times until the product is ready and we're confident that it's time for it to go to market. But now the prototyping and the product and things like this, these are things that we will do in Management 387. In Management 386, after we get past the ideate stage and ideas, we're going to take this down and we're going to complete the business canvas. Now, I've introduced that to you already this semester, but when we start looking at the business canvas here, this is going to be much more customer focused. So in 386 here, we'll learn how to complete the business canvas and all of the squares that are inside it. This is the due diligence that we need to finish so that we can measure the risk associated with opening this business and decide if we want to go forth or not. So this is everything else that we will cover in 386. Now, I hope that this all gives you kind of a clear picture of where we've been, starting with the individual, all the way up to here. We're up to empathy in the define stage in this class. And then this lets you know in 387, we talk more about product and pitching it. In 386, we're going to come back down here, do more due diligence on the actual opportunity and look more at the customer base and be sure that we have our value proposition and our customer segments correctly identified. So these are the things that are going to come next. So I'm drawing the line here to help us stop it because all of this is going to be exam one. And this will move on in different parts of the semester. But as I told you at the beginning, I like to tell you why we're learning things and where we're going. Okay, one more thing that I want to go over with you today before we finish up, and that is back over here. So I think that I've done a pretty good job of establishing for you why empathy is so important and why it's key for you to start to develop your empathy skills and to use them. So I've told you some ways that you can go ahead and start. That was with your emotional vocabulary, listening between the lines, increasing your entrepreneurial awareness. But let's also talk about things that stop us from practicing good empathy. And this is where biases come in. Now, remember, I told you because of our strengths and weaknesses, our experiences, the info inside our bounded rationale, we see the world through our set of glasses, our particular set of glasses. Our perspective is uniquely ours. The market, however, so this is us, the market has a different set of glasses. And the key to being really good at empathy is being able to take our glasses off and look at the world through the market's glasses and their perspective. One of the things I pointed out to you is that you don't have to agree with the market to look through their glasses or understand them. So you can put that aside. But some of the other things that happen in our brain that are very natural are biases, cognitive biases. Now, cognitive biases are part of our perspective, how we see the world. And everyone has them, everyone. And they're there on purpose. They're there to protect us in lots of different ways. Maybe they're there to protect our confidence, our self-efficacy. Maybe they're there to protect our self-esteem. But we all have them. The key to this is being able to see when the biases occur, see when they occur, to recognize them, to recognize them, think about them there, think about them, and then decide, is it beneficial to let this biases exist right now? Now, what happens with our biases is lots of times we just make an observation, we see something, and we react. When we react, that is action without thinking. Move this. That is reaction without thinking. However, when we respond, that is action with thinking. Reactions are involuntary. They just happen. But we can stop and recognize it when it happens, think about it, and then respond. Now, the way that you get really good at playing your cards is to look at these biases, learn about them, and see which ones resonate with you. Say, oh yeah, I'm sure I do that. Okay. It's okay if you do it. They're there for a reason to protect us. But if you do see these resonate with you and you're like, okay, yeah, I know that I react that way, then you can stop and pause and think and say, okay, is that appropriate in this situation? Or do I need to respond in a different way? Do I need to be more open-minded to facts that are coming at me? Do I need to be much more aware of the true causes of this situation? Did I cause it or did someone else cause it? And do I truly have all of the information? This is a Jedi mind trick, and I'm not kidding. If you can learn to play your cards this way, taking empathy a step further and understanding how your biases play into this, you'll be golden. You'll be golden, but it takes practice. So let's talk about some of the biases so you can kind of understand. Let's see. Let's look at Confirmation bias, one of my favorites. Gosh, and right now with the things that are happening in the world, it's really an easy one to use as an example. Confirmation bias is when we only go to sources of information that agree with and support what we already believe. So we've talked about this. For example, if you only find yourself watching one news channel on an ongoing basis, and it is the news channel that is in line with your political beliefs, and you never switch to the other channel to see what the other side's thinking, you are committing confirmation bias. It's pretty normal. It happens a lot. And the truth is, the media knows that people do this. And so they tend to exploit it a bit. I've said, it's not that either news station is wrong. It's just that each news station only tells half the story. So our goal is to play devil's advocate with ourselves, watch all of the news channels, put the pieces of information together, and be smart and respond and see what the real story is. The real story. Along with confirmation bias comes bandwagon, getting on the bandwagon bias. And that is when people go along with the group. So I want to fit in, so I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. And we never take the time to fully look at all of the information and make a really good informed decision. We just kind of trust the people that are around us, so we go with it. This is something else that's causing a lot of polarization in our society and division. We have a lot of people who just jump on a bandwagon of a political party, and then they keep committing confirmation bias. So they get into a group, they keep feeding fuel into this group. And with that, as they do that, then they start to hate the other group or to completely think the other group is wrong in everything that they say. And that is because they never take the time to look at the other group, to take in their information, to see if they're right or wrong. They just don't. And it doesn't matter which political party that you're a part of, both are doing it. Both are doing it. The politicians and the political strategists know this about us, and they exploit it. That's kind of hard to hear sometimes, but it's the truth. And so they trust that you'll just jump on the bandwagon. They trust that you won't go find more information. And that's what they feed on. And that's how they have really been good at dividing the country. Some of the others are conformity bias. That's another strong one. That is when choices of the mass population influence how we think. Our gut may tell us like, this just doesn't feel right, but everybody else thinks it, so it must be true. And we go along with it. Some of the others, and you guys can look through these yourself. There's 16 of them here, and they're really good. I was going to see if there's any others that I wanted to talk to you about. Really, guys, I just don't want to regurgitate all this information to you. You can look at them and get and study them, and also gives you some ideas in there for ways that you can overcome the biases. The main thing that I want you all to recognize here is that biases are a huge block to practicing empathy. And since they're a block to practicing empathy, then they become a block to innovation. So we've got to get really good at all of this so we can do this stage really well. And that is to come up with ideas that can then become entrepreneurial opportunities. So let me stop screen share here for you and come back. Okay. Now that is overall a quick overview of everything we've covered this semester, where we're going this semester, and what you need to know for the exam and what you need to start practicing as skill sets in your life. Now on Tuesday, you're going to receive an assignment. So please pay attention on Tuesday, where we'll start to use these skills. You're going to have to list multiple observations, and then you're going to have to list the actual problems the market is feeling because of this. And then we'll start to think of some ideas that we can exploit as business opportunities to be entrepreneurs. You're also going to have an exam next Thursday. On Tuesday, we'll review a bit on that, but just go ahead and be reading. Be very, very up to date on all of the information in all of the readings. And you are also responsible for all of the information in lectures. I give you a lot of information in lectures that are not in your reading. So spend some time this weekend and see if you have any questions for me, and then let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all next week, and I look forward to talking with you again. See ya.